What is going on, everyone? Welcome back into the fan cave. We are going behind enemy lines this week for this week 7 matchup against the New York Giants. The Jaguars are trying to right the ship, start that climb back up to the 500 mark. So we're going behind enemy lines. I got my man here. He's going to break it all down for us. What's going on, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to talk some ball, and yeah, definitely going against enemy lines here.
Hey, absolutely. The Giants are probably like the surprise team in the National Football League this year. The Eagles were expected to be good. The Bills were expected to be good. The Chiefs are perennially good, but the Giants are 5-1. Why is that? What has happened thus far?
Yeah, I think personally it's good coaching. They have been very well on all facets with coaching. Brian Dable, he went out, he brought, Mike Kafka from the Chiefs, who works very close with Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid. Then he goes and gets Wink Martindale, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens. And really with the coaching, it's brought out really just the most out of their players. And a lot of key players that were drafted by previous regimes have really stepped up. And really, that's, in my opinion, I think with coaching, I think with these players just buying in and, really just taking on the mentality of Brian Dable and just having no quit. As well as obviously, Saquon Barkley playing out of his mind. Um, I think it's really the coaching. The coaching has played a huge part, especially for Daniel Jones.
Absolutely. You hit on Brian Dable a little bit. I kind of want to expound on that. Brian Dable is one of the crop that has kind of come in through this new coaching regime. Obviously the Jaguars bring in Doug Peterson, who is expected to be able to elevate Trevor Lawrence. How do you feel like Brian Dable has elevated Daniel Jones to this point?
Yeah. So with Brian Dable, he's been able to have Daniel Jones play confidently. He's had him been able to play, turnover-free football. And that's something that, a lot of people, as well as Giants fans, we've always looked at is how can we limit the turnovers with Daniel Jones? A lot of them, especially last year, came off of now former Jacksonville Jaguar Evan Ingram. But it's really just him just being confident and really just building a scheme catered to him. Prior to Jason Garrett, when he got drafted into the league, Pat Shermer, he chose him. That was his guy for his scheme. That was really the last time that Daniel Jones had a strong and modern offensive mind. Jason Garrett, I mean, he had him playing very conservative, had him playing where he felt very afraid to make any mistakes. And you notice that he wasn't taking shots downfield. You notice that, he was trying to play, mistake free football, but he's not taking the chances that he needs in order to put his team in the position to win. Now, for the Giants, we've found ways to win as opposed to in the past finding ways to just lose. But I've noticed with Brian Dable is that he's like, okay, this kid is athletic. We know that he can do a lot of things in the pocket. He has a nice arm. Daniel Jones, a lot of people don't know this, especially outside of the Giants fan base, but he's a very accurate quarterback,
Mhm.
especially downfield. He's a very accurate quarterback. And, when he gets hot, he gets really hot. And I think, honestly, it's just having Kafka and Dable really just develop a scheme that benefits him. Because again, Jason Garrett, you look at the scheme that he was running, Giants fans could tell you literally all of the wide receivers were either running sticks, slants, or just straight streaks.
Mhm.
And it really just was not getting the most out of them compared to what Dable and Kafka have been able to do. So again, all comes down to coaching for me.
Will Daniel Jones last in New York? Is Daniel Jones the long-term answer?
Ah, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I would like to think so.
Mhm.
I am one of the people that I do believe in Daniel Jones. I don't think he's been given a fair shake. Odell Beckham to this 5-year extension and then just trades him and then
Mhm.
goes and then signs Golden Tate in the same year. On top of that, they don't really attack the offensive line outside of Andrew Thomas, maybe Shane Lemieux. They haven't really hit on their offensive linemen in previous regimes. we haven't had a lot of players healthy. Saquon, he's always dealt with an injury. On top of that, you look at the players around him, a lot of the times, again, they were injured, and
Mhm.
he works with what he has. And unfortunately, that can bite him. And we've seen games where, with him working with the wide receivers that he has, that on other teams would probably be practice squad players, he gets good production out of them. Um, I think he could be a good quarterback, but honestly, I feel if the Giants keep winning games, if they keep going, they have no choice but to give him a Derek Carr like deal, or maybe a 1 year deal that's not a franchise tag. I
Mhm.
feel if they start losing games and they get further away from that top 10, top 15 pick, um, they would absolutely do what they can to go get themselves a quarterback. But I it's hard. It really is hard because he has all the tangibles you would want your quarterback to have.
Mhm.
I just don't know if he's going to have the time to really prove that, because he's really in a prove it year right now.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm looking at the Giants right now. The Jaguars obviously had their tandem of first round picks, Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd. The Giants took two people that were on a lot of Jaguar fans' wish list. They're two guys that were on a lot of the number one spots in Jaguar fans' wish lists with the number one overall pick. Not only Kayvon Thibodeaux, but also Evan Neal. What have been your early impressions of them through the 6 games we've seen?
Yeah, I actually got me a Kayvon Thibodeaux jersey on right now. I am very pleased with these two draft selections. I actually, not to toot my own horn, was one of the few content creators for the Giants that had us taking both Kayvon and Evan Neal with 5 and 7. Kind of got to give myself a little pat on the shoulder, but
Absolutely.
it's I'm very pleased. Kayvon, outside of his QB pressures being high, I mean, he's been a difference maker. He really has. The Giants in recent years, we have not had a good pass rush. He could get to the quarterback. He has speed. And really he's getting confident week in and week out and just dominating on the field. Now, Evan Neal was a player that, I'll be honest, I don't think a lot of Giants fans thought that we were gonna get. In my opinion, I thought he was the top tackle in this draft class. I know
Mhm.
some will say Akeem Aquanu, which I get that completely. But Evan Neal, outside of that Dallas game, he's been really building off of that. Obviously, these rookie tackles, they're gonna have some rookie growing pains, but last week, against the Baltimore Ravens, you didn't hear his name called once. He completely shut down Jason Pierre-Paul, Owe when he was on him. I mean, Evan Neal to me has been, in my opinion, outside of I want to say Thibodeaux, but I really, because of we haven't had a good offensive line in
Mhm.
over a decade. Evan Neal's been my favorite pick. I mean, he's just been a stud. He's been a huge improvement over what Giants fans are used to seeing at the right tackle position. And with having another bookend tackle and Andrew Thomas on the left side, knowing what Neal can be, I mean,
Mhm.
he's really, I'm telling you, he's really showing that he was worth, that seventh overall selection.
Now, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but right after the drafting of Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, Urban Meyer had a press conference, and he was asked about the pick of Travis Etienne because it kind of did seem like a luxury pick. James Robinson was coming off a 1,000-yard season. Well, he was asked about how he would like to use Travis Etienne, and he kind of gave an answer that hinted and almost blatantly said, "We wanted Kadarius Toney, he wasn't there, so we went with Etienne." So
Yeah.
knowing like just a little bit of Jaguar insider there for you, but what are your early thoughts on Kadarius Toney going into his second year?
Man, I'll tell you what, Kadarius Toney is one of my favorite players on the New York Giants. I mean, when he has the ball in his hands, I mean, he is literally a human joystick. He makes moves and cuts that I just didn't think were possible to see on the human body. We really saw it in training camp as well. And then on top of that, he has this big game in Dallas, 200 yards by himself almost, with Mike Glennon throwing him the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And he made Trayvon Diggs look like he looked embarrassing. Like that's how bad it was. And, going into this season, you say to yourself, he literally fits what Brian Dable and Kafka want to do,
Mhm.
because Brian Dable is bringing the offense from the Bills and Kafka is bringing the offense from the Chiefs. So Jaguars fans, you guys are going to see a mixture of both styles. You're going to see what the Bills do. You're also going to see a lot of things that the Chiefs do as well. And
Hmm.
Kadarius Toney, he fits that perfectly. He literally fits it perfectly, but he's just dealing with nagging injuries. And there are Giants fans, don't get me wrong, that are very hard on this kid, that are just stirring up controversy that the media is eating up and creating headlines for. And unfortunately, Kadarius Toney is a player that responds. Some people don't like that. Some people don't like when players respond to random people on Twitter or Instagram. But Kadarius Toney is that kind of a person.
Mhm.
I have no I have no negative feelings towards him. I think when he's healthy, he's incredible. He is incredible. There's so many things that he can do. I was not expecting us to draft him. I thought if we traded back, we could pick up Rashad Bateman, who I actually really wanted, goes over to the Baltimore Ravens. Now I'm starting to think, I'll be honest with you, I don't think Kadarius Toney is going to be on the Giants next year. I just don't.
Wow.
Giants are winning games without him. They're winning games without Kenny Galladay as well, who's also dealing with an MCL sprain.
Mhm.
Um, but they're winning games without him. And the problem is not the talent, it's just he can't stay healthy. He can't stay healthy. He was dealing with the hamstring injury. We're getting ready to have him come back against the Green Bay Packers. Then come to find out, literally as the team lands, hey, he didn't come with us to London because he's dealing with a different hamstring injury. And it's like, okay, so since then, it's been two hamstring injuries that he's dealing with. And it's been frustrating because what
Mhm.
he can do on the field. Daniel Jones needs that kind of a talent on the field because right now, and you will see it on Sunday, outside of two wide receivers, he's literally playing with practice squad players
Mhm.
at the wide receiver position. And we could really use him, man. But I couldn't even tell you when's the next game he's going to play. In my opinion, I think he should be on IR until we come out of the bye to play Dallas.
Phew, man. Now,
Yeah.
this Jaguars defense is coming off a game where they couldn't stop a nosebleed with two tampons shoved up their nose. They played abysmally last week. What are the Giants' offensive strengths, and then also what are some things the Jaguars defense could look to exploit and kind of get a leg up on the Giants' offense?
Yeah. So with the Giants, they run the ball a lot through Saquon, with Daniel Jones, with Matt Breida, who's a burner at the running back position. Um, and with the Giants, you see a lot of motion. You see a lot of just confusion, and they really like to do that to help Daniel Jones see what coverage is being displayed on the field. And I got to credit that to Mike Kafka and Brian Dable, because prior to them, you really saw little to no motions with any of our wide receivers or running backs, for that matter. I will say that there are some packages that you'll see where the left tackle will be paired up next to the right tackle, and where the
Hmm.
left tackle is at, you'll see a tight end there. They draw up different ways to get these players involved. They run a lot of wildcat, which we ran a lot against the Baltimore Ravens, and it didn't work. I stated in my video, I thought that was something that, Kafka has to go back and say, okay, if this is not working, we got to stop doing this, because it was just overkill.
Mm-hmm.
Now, paired with the running game, I feel that does help the passing game as well. With the Giants, we run a lot of RPO, a lot of play action. You're going to see a lot of boots, and you're going to see a lot of crossers as well with these guys. And I would honestly expect, if you're asking me, Saquon obviously is the focal point, and I feel that that's a player that obviously the Jaguars should absolutely circle when he's on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But with Wan'Dale Robinson, rookie second round wide receiver out of Kentucky, he's been getting, I mean, this past week against Baltimore, I mean, he was a difference maker in our wide receiver core that we've really needed. He's been that spark. And I honestly feel that the Giants are going to be passing the ball a lot more than they're going to be running. I thought against the Baltimore Ravens, they were going to be running the ball a lot more than they were going to pass it. And to my surprise, they actually threw the ball a lot more than they passed it. And Daniel Jones, back-to-back weeks, has been very solid going against Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson.
Mhm.
And I would highly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think this could be a game that we see Daniel Jones pass the ball the most this season. He
Hmm.
hasn't had a game yet where he goes over that 300-yard mark. He just passed 200 recently for the first time this season. We know he can have those type of games, those 300, 400-yard games. As us as Giants fans, we've seen them. Last year, he had a 400-yard game against the Saints through the air. So he can
Mhm.
absolutely do that. But I just feel this is going to be a game that you're going to see that ball get thrown around a lot, especially look for rookie tight end Daniel Bellinger because he's been getting very, very involved in this offense.
All right. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this Jaguars offense now, and it's an offense that, like I talked about with you pre-show. It's an offense that just really goes with the way that Trevor Lawrence goes. If he has a good game, the Jaguars have a good game. If he has a bad game, the Jaguars just can't seem to get out of the rut. What are obviously the Giants have Kayvon Thibodeaux, they have Leonard Williams, they have a lot of really good big names on this Giants defense. What are some names that Jaguar fans probably aren't familiar with, but they can expect to probably have a big impact on the game on Sunday?
Yeah, so two players that come to my mind are safety Xavier McKinney. Xavier McKinney is, in my opinion, and I feel as the Giants win more games, I think maybe you can attest to this. The more you win, the more the media starts to look at players that they weren't looking at before, and they start to realize how good these players actually are instead of just grouping them with them being with a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
Xavier McKinney, he's a stout safety. He has a very good nose for the ball, excellent in coverage, especially against tight ends. Regardless of who you put there, he's going to do everything he can to shut down that tight end. But the Giants just last week got our first interception of the year. And we're looking to get some more. He said this week that he's looking to get his first one, not necessarily against Jacksonville, but would like it to be against Jacksonville. And another player that I would really highlight would be Dexter Lawrence. I want to say Azeez Ojolari and Kayvon Thibodeaux, but for me, it's got to be Dexter Lawrence because he's been the player that's just really just stood out on this defense. And
Absolutely.
Dexter Lawrence, I mean, he's excellent in the run game. He stuffs the run very, very well. A lot of teams actually don't even run in the direction where he is at, which is kind of crazy that you have that level of aura to you that a team is saying, okay, we're not going to run in that direction because we know we can't run past them. But
Exactly.
now he's getting to the quarterback. He's leading this team with 4 sacks. He has 4 sacks in 3 games. Um, he can really make your centers pay. If you have a weak interior with a healthy Leonard Williams who commands a double team almost 9 times out of 10, Leonard Williams is that guy that's he can eat up double teams too, but he's very strong. He's a big dude. If your offensive line isn't playing well, he's gonna make them pay.
Gotcha. Well, hey, we have reached the point in the video where it is time for me to tell you that the Jaguars are going to win this game. Let me get that score prediction.
Yeah, so I have us winning 28-17, the New York Giants. I feel that this is a game for, I know some people say this could be a trap game, but the Giants are getting more confident. They're playing better. They're buying into this, regime. And, they're really just the levels of improvement week in and week out is
Mm-hmm.
something that we as fans have not seen in quite some time. But they're finding ways to win. They're making excellent adjustments coming out of the half. So I got the Giants winning 28-17, but I would not be shocked if this is a 24-21 type of a game.
Absolutely. This game is weird for me because the Jaguars have struggled with strong interior pressure. Jonathan Allen of the Commanders really did a number on this team. So you're talking about Dexter Lawrence and all the incredible talent that is somewhat kind of condensed into the interior there. Really could wreak a lot of havoc. Ultimately, I do have the Jaguars winning this game 21-20. That is my preliminary score prediction. Obviously, a lot can happen. The injury reports
Yeah.
can change a lot about this game. The Jaguars have some big pieces. The Giants have some big pieces flirting out that injury roster. But hey, man, thank you very much for coming on. I'm going to have all your links down to your socials and everything in the description below. Be sure to check him out. And because if you are a fan of football, like I know a lot of you guys are, he puts out some incredible content, because you know that New York media is highly contested, and he is an up and coming, and he is cruising along on the way to YouTube greatness. So be sure to drop him a subscription as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe and go Jaguars.
Yeah, I just work here.